Car Cost Canada provides the dealer cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. The link is in the description below.
It's the one with a rather unique 2.5 litre turbocharged 5-cylinder engine, a very rare thing in this industry. It's a sledgehammer of an engine inside a tweezer of a car, and this engine produces 394 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. Audi claims that it can get to 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, but Audi's somewhat on the conservative side when it comes to those numbers, and Car and Driver claims that they can get a RS3 to 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.5 seconds. The dynamic mode in the 4 different driving modes that you have totally alter the characteristics of this RS3. It's a proper little pocket rocket, this thing. Downshifts are as quick as upshifts are, immediately responding to your paddle inputs. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Me being me, just being a lunatic of a car guy, of course I'd like a little bit more noise always on song with this engine. Here we have the standard adaptive suspension system. There is also an RS Sport tuned suspension that might make things a little more challenging living day to day, but I've been driving this car for the majority of its time in dynamic mode. The suspension is exactly what you want it to be. It isn't back braking or it isn't stiff, but it definitely reacts to the pavement, but with this beautiful dampening that always makes this car feel like a very easy car to drive. And yes, I've been spending the majority of my time in the dynamic mode. It makes the steering a little more reactive and a touch heavier, but it's just incredibly easy to drive. You'll hear that butterfly exhaust engage when you go from normal cruising mode, which I might as well do just to see if you guys can tell a difference going in from comfort now from the dynamic mode. Settled the car right down, but there's still a fair amount of road noise coming from these tires. With this wheel package, they're 235/35 rubber. I know if you go with the different style of wheels, you'll actually have a staggered wheel set with the wider wheels up front. The rear lip spoiler, those meaty exhausts that are essentially cannons to shoot out the exhaust fumes, and the beautiful noise that this 5-cylinder creates. It's an alive and characterful car, but it never seems like it's pulling on the leash. It doesn't seem like it's totally on edge all of the time. The dual clutch 7-speed S-Tronic transmission is absolutely stunning. It has the plastic paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, which they feel fine, but perhaps not as premium as someone expecting in this price point or this kind of performance car would want, but they listen to you, which is probably the most important thing. You can change the gears as well with the Alcantara wrapped gear knob. And on a hot summer's day, just with this metal component that's on top, I came close to burning my hand on it. And in dynamic mode, you can engage launch control. It's a very easy process. Put the car in its dynamic setting, turn the traction control off, plant your foot on the brake pedal and the gas pedal, and launch away. Flat bottom race-inspired steering wheel is a really great thing to hold. You've got leather on the top and bottom, and then Alcantara along the right and left hand sides, giving you some variation in material if you ever wanted to change things up a bit, I suppose. Now, I will be honest, at 6'4", this is probably not the car for me. This is a subcompact, entry-level premium car, and it feels it. My head is properly grazing up along the roofline here. If I get into the back seats without even attempting to sit up straight, I'm already crinking my neck. The seats will split 60-40 to fold them down if you want to ever use your RS3 as a device to carry large items from IKEA. And those rear doors as well, it's hard enough even just trying to get in. They don't open up very wide, but remind myself, it's a subcompact. That's all it is, it's a subcompact. With a decent sized trunk and a ski pass-through for the center seat, you could almost call the RS3 practical, but if you're on the taller side like me, You're gonna have a hard time getting comfortable up here, and overall you'll probably feel a little bit cramped. But personally, I love being in small cars. I always like getting into the smallest possible car that I can. It makes it feel like the car just wraps itself around you. With this really good steering, absolutely brilliant transmission, and a beautiful engine that's smooth, more than powerful, you can seriously get yourself into trouble with one of these things. The RS3 is just a joyful and fun car to be in. It doesn't feel intimidating to drive when you want to be sensible and calm, just slightly rolling into the throttle. Probably won't engage the turbo, you'll just comfortably sit under 2000 RPM. But if you ever feel the need to put a little power to the ground, stamp on it. Little bit of turbo lag, a little need of the transmission cogging down, and that's just in regular comfort mode. If I go into something like dynamic, by clicking those lovely buttons, you'll probably already hear that exhaust note really fire back up into action. And you'll happily be sitting around something like 43, and then already just lightly pressing on the throttle then. Be in a speed that's no longer acceptable in this area. Now for the interior, it's very much Audi's last generation of products. So we have MMI here with the screen that folds away under the dashboard and the rotary knob with a few fixed buttons. Looks absolutely great. It might have a little bit of a learning curve when you work your way through the system menus here, but it isn't as smooth or easily approachable as something like the new MMI touch system that I've experienced in the new Audi A6, for example. The dials are cool. They look like something straight out of Star Wars, something that you see in one of those spaceships, and the way that you turn the vents on and off is rotating the silver portion all around them. Material quality is excellent. Although the A3 might be the entry-level point for Audi's products, it isn't a vehicle that feels like an entry-level version. It feels just as polished and well put together as something like their flagship cars and SUVs. But it does seem a little bit empty to me. I would like there to perhaps be a little more on the dashboard. Everything that you look at is fine, but I kind of wish there was perhaps a little more to look at. It is a shame that you have the carbon fiber inlays on the door and across the dashboard, that it wouldn't find itself in this I don't even know what this would be, this texturized plastic down here that feels like it has a wood grain across it. I know some other RS products will place all of that there. Just a shame that couldn't be in there too. Door pockets are pretty small. The center console is enough for a wallet and a phone, and that's pretty much it. Virtual cockpit is beautiful here, as it is in every other Audi product. You've got a couple different views, so you could have a power and torque gauge with a tach right in the center, or putting your speed and tach on smaller portions with the Google Map integration in the background. Car, really fun to drive, perhaps not the best car suited for me, but my God, do I want one. And that's exactly why I think you should consider owning the RS3 if you're in the market for any performance sedan or just a subcompact in general. The Audi offers a lot, some unique propositions, some really good looks, and a very engaging driving experience. Thank you so much for taking the time to watching this video, and special thanks have to go off to Glenmore Audi that lent this car out to me for a couple days so I could review it.
Car Cost Canada provides the dealer cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. The link is in the description below.